What is up and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to be covering the 2 trades that I've opened up and how they are going to make over 6 figures in the next couple of months. These are weeks that are going to range anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks all the way to 2 and 4 months. This is the exact same way I've been able to clear 6 figures on other trades. This is the exact same strategy I'll be going over in this video right now. So let's get right into it. Let's go.
In this video, we're going to be coming over 2 trades that have just opened up that I think are going to be 6-figure trades and the entire thesis behind both of these coins. So the first coin I opened a trade on, this was called in Discord right around this $3 million mark on here, is going to be Billy Bets. Now, Billy Bets is essentially a agent that was first built on the Virtuals ecosystem. They ended up migrating from Base over to Sol, and now they're migrating from Sol back over to Base. The way that Billy Bets works is essentially Billy Bets is an autonomous trading agent. So it goes and it bets on sports teams. It has its own personality. It has a $100,000 bankroll. Every time it wins the bet, 50% of the revenue it makes goes back to buying the Billy Bets token and then burning it. So there's this nice flywheel, basically reoccurring income that's going to buying tokens and then obviously burning them. So that would make the supply deflationary. I've just went and opened not quite a 1% trade here, but I've tried to accumulate as close to 1% of the supply as I can because I think it's going to do pretty well in the future for these reasons. So I tried to buy as much as I could, around $2.5 million. I did not get fully filled. The risk to reward here, in my opinion, is about negative 50%. So it goes back to, let's say, like 2.53 mil. But if the team executes this right, then I think this is potentially like a $25 million coin, something like this. So 5 or 6x from here. Okay. Obviously, this is gonna change because it's not 10 to 15x because the price has moved. Okay. So first, number 1, seller exhaustion. If you guys actually look over here, there's only 6.7k of buys and sells. So basically nothing, 26 makers. So the price basically has like no movement on the chart. The people that are currently holding the token are those that actually believe in the project. So there's just not really anyone selling, but there's also not anyone buying, which is good and bad. Bad for the reason that there's not really much marketing going on here. So people don't know about the token. So like, therefore nobody's buying it. Good in the sense that like, okay, if there's really bad marketing right now and people don't know about the token, it's still at a $4 million market cap. And it also has super thick liquidity. So if you guys know about liquidity, if I was holding like 50K of this coin right now, I could go and sell this without like totally destroying the chart. If you have a coin that has basically no liquidity, then it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to actually go and sell your tokens without just destroying the chart. And in some cases, if you have, too much money and there's not enough locked liquidity here, then you wouldn't even be able to sell all the tokens you have. So essentially the token would be illiquid. Okay. Number 2. So there's a migration happening that should attract a lot of new buyers. So they're going to be going off of Solana and they're going to be migrating back onto the Base ecosystem. Now this is really good because a lot of big EVM projects like Keta and many other like Clanker, like a lot of big EVM projects are being built on the Base ecosystem. It's pretty much where like quite serious projects are going and they're actually catching like a lot of bids and a lot of volume. And so them moving back over to Sol, which is more like from Sol, which is more like the casino now, and back over to somewhere like Base is going to attract a lot more serious buyers and a lot more volume in the short and long term, I think. So I think them relaunching and migrating over on Base is going to be like a huge game changer. And I think if they can figure out marketing, they should be doing pretty well. Okay. So there's a strong narrative fit. I think one of the biggest narratives here is going to be on-chain gambling. I think everybody likes sports betting. That's why Bet365, that's why Roobet, that's why Stake, all these companies do so well. This is essentially playing into the same category, except you do not need to actually go and place the bets, right? Billy is going to end up placing the bets and actually betting for you, but you're getting this exposure to sports betting and the picks too through Billy Bets. So I think that plays into a really good narrative that can go super viral, especially across like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, which is just like one of the main reasons why I like this project because it has a lot of like normie friendly viral ability. So I think the buyback and burn model is also really good. We've seen this work on a bunch of projects on Clinker, now on Pump Fund, on Hype, on a bunch of others where they get profits from the token and then they end up reinvesting it back into the ecosystem by buying and burning. And so what tends to happen is because there's like a consistent flywheel of just buyers and then the supply being burned, the price does tend to go up into the right, but obviously like this is not 100%. This takes time. We have to see how things play out, but that tends to be like a very good flywheel for projects. Okay. I think there needs to be a good amount of KOL support. I think on the new launch, they're hopefully going to be working with some marketing teams. They're going to be getting help in supporting the project. I think if you're able to hold a 4.1 mil market cap with the supply being fully diluted, which means like all the tokens are on the market, with like having pretty bad marketing, they can do like some pretty serious numbers if they have good marketing and actual buy pressure. Like 6.7K of buy pressure is literally like fucking nothing. And then obviously having this, the token ends up being deflationary, which is also very good. The team appears to be legit. They look good. There's really like not too much competition for this. There was like one other project that was a competitor I remember seeing like a very long time ago that had like a pretty bad AI model, and they ended up doing like 20 or 30 mil, I believe. So this gives me a lot of like hopium here, or, you know, I think that this should tend to do well because of this. Now, if the KOLs do end up getting on board and hype does start to build, then I would look to actually ape in and try and buy the full 1%, because I think that this, again, can do like multiple 4, 5, 6x's, right? And so I think if you're able to get in like 20K or something like this, I think like this getting to like a 20 to $30 million range is definitely not unreasonable and probably pretty possible. Now, my bearish thesis, right, is that they're going to be increasing the token supply by 30%. So that means effectively you would lose 30% in USD value, because they're increasing supply. So your tokens are going to be worth like essentially 30% less. Now, if there is a reason why this would not be bad, obviously they're going to catch more bids. The price should go up by more than 30% canceling this out, right? But also they might open up the market cap on Base at 30% higher than it is on Sol, so that it would basically effectively cancel out the dilution. So if they do that, then obviously that'd be bullish, because then you're not getting diluted US dollars. And if they don't do that, then obviously I'd look to just sell and then buy back on Base, because like, why would I want to get diluted 30% of my USD value? Okay. Some other marketing concerns to bring up, obviously, just transparently, like the team did launch before. They only got the coin to, I think, 10 to $15 million at its peak. Okay, here it hit like 15, and they were on the Vader launchpad, so like they had good publicity, and they only got it to like 20, like just under 20 mil. So like, can they do this again? I think it's pretty easy to, not easy, but doable to go back to all-time highs. Can they push this to 25? I don't know. So I'd kind of look to take profits around this like 15, $20 million mark to definitely get some off the board. But if they do the marketing well, then this could definitely be like 25, 30 million, etc. Okay. Now, if they go back over to Base and they migrate there, and then there's no attention and there's no volume and no KOLs are supporting and no one's bidding, then that would be like a really, really bad sign. And then I would most likely look to actually cut the positions. This needs to kind of coincide with having marketing support, getting KOLs on board, getting the word out there. Like there's no volume, so they need help getting the word out there, okay? Timeline's unclear, so how long will I be holding this trade? I don't know. I think this could be a multi-week to multi-month trade, depending on how long it takes to migrate, to get everything on board, to do the marketing, to get the KOLs. It could be fast, it could be slow. I'm not too sure about that. So, you know, it could be like a pretty long-term trade. One other thing would be, you know, if the relaunch happens and, you know, we're seeing it called in a whole bunch of groups and across Twitter, and like there's just no volume and no price action, then I would obviously look to go and de-risk most of the position, because that just means like, you know, the marketing's not happening. And so then I would probably like revert back to taking off some of my position here. That concludes most of what I want to cover for Billy Bets, but I do think this is hopefully like a $20 million coin. I think it has the flywheel to do so. The team's really good. I just think they lack some like marketing expertise. I think like if you want to get a coin viral on TikTok and Instagram, like you really need to be good at going viral and getting this like brain rot TikTok strategy down that's like accessible to the normies, especially with something like sports betting. And I'm not, you know, 100% sure that they can do that. So that would be like just one risk that I would outline, and then look to shave off the position if like they can't do that, right? There has been a ton of runners on AVAX and Ethereum. And so what I would also look at buying on AVAX would be a token called Summit. The price looks honestly really, really, really fucking good. It's basically just been consolidating like anywhere between this like realistically like $4 and $6 million mark. It's currently at 5.1 mil. I really think that this is like a 10 to $12 million coin. I think Wolfie right now is at 13 mil. We caught some of that trade. Lambo, which is like leading AVAX, we could say, is at 20 mil, but it went all the way to 60. So I think, okay, if it's not as big as Lambo, but it has good marketing, you know, nonetheless, then, you know, and Wolfie's at 13, then, you know, maybe this should be at 10. And I think, you know, some of these other ones that are going to get bid by the AVAX Foundation most likely will definitely like increase in price. And I think the chart looks really good volume, good amount of liquidity, and I think marketing's being pushed on there pretty soon. So I think that tends to most likely end up being a good trade here. Another good trade that did take place that I did not get in here was Manu. Now, this was a token that had already launched actually a while ago on Solana, or maybe on Ethereum, I believe. I can't remember, but definitely a while ago. This chart looks absolutely insane. If we do ever get a dip, like a 50% correction dip, maybe like something like this again, probably should have bought that. But if we do get a 50% dip or more, or a 70% dip, which I like to see right around here, then I would probably look to try and buy that. And I also want to see where the most people are buying. So if I go over here, I change my session to VWAP, then I go down to Sentry. Then I can actually just see okay, the volume weighted average. So the most people have bought around this $5.5 million mark, which would also coincide with this being a 60 to 70% drop. So this would be somewhere else I'd want to go and pick up a position. Obviously, if I wanted to get exposure to this coin. I think a lot of coins are going to be doing pretty well in the coming months because the market overall looks really good. 109k Bitcoin, almost $2,600 ETH, $151 Sol. Obviously, Hyperliquid looks fucking crazy. I think AVAX will run in the future as well. Also Aave and Render and Tau, but these are bigger positions that you would need to use size on. And obviously, I don't want to be buying Bitcoin at 109k. You want to be doing that prior. So I think these are going to do pretty well going into the future. But I think an important lesson here is that you have to know when to bet at all and how to figure out when to buy conviction. Because if you don't know when to buy conviction and, bet the house, you're going to have a really hard time making money. A lot of people were even in a coin called Degen, right? And even someone in our group, right? They called it right here at this $2 million mark or 700k, but they had no conviction, they had no size, so they ended up selling it here, right? And then if you don't have any conviction and you don't know anything about the team, it peaks down here, and then you could have gotten this huge, massive rebound trade, right? And it just didn't happen because people didn't have conviction in the coin, right? Or they didn't form their conviction, so they didn't know how much to bet. I also tend to only want to buy, if a chart looks like this, there usually tends to be a 70 to 90% crash. So this would be 85% crash, and then the rebound is usually pretty good. This is 80%, 90% crash is usually max capitulation. So if you miss the run up here, the next best thing you can do is buy a 80 to 90% dip. If we go back to this Manu chart, this chart looks very, very, very similar, and the probably most optimal dip to buy into it is if I drag it down somewhere like this, it would be 2 or 3 mil. And then I would imagine after that happens, maybe you would get it here and then it would bounce back here and then do something like that, or die or go back up. Usually that's the most likely scenario of these coins. That's what I would do if I wanted to get into a coin that I wasn't in. But it takes a long time to build this conviction to know when to basically essentially bet it all. And most of the money you make in crypto is by having true conviction and betting a shitload of money and being paid off. You really don't see many people that make 1k to 100k in one trade. It's usually someone puts in 10, 15, 20, 30, 50k to a trade, and then that trade ends up doing a 10, 15, 20x, right? It's having that size plus that conviction ends up making you a shitload of money, right? So I think that that's kind of the key that you got to learn over time. And obviously we cover all of that in the Discord, in my group that we're trading in, basically 24/7. We're calling out all the plays that I've gone over in this video. I would also watch out for something that's coming up soon, which is the Pump Fund token, because a lot of liquidity is going to be sucked out of the Solana ecosystem. So what I'm doing is just consolidating a bunch of smaller cap coins that I have, knowing that dips are going to happen, stacking up on cash, and then probably going to be able to buy some crazy dips on Solana in the next coming days. The next token that I want to cover that I'm currently holding position in is going to be R1. Now, obviously, I think this is going to do extremely well. It's one of the tokens that we called probably around right after launch, somewhere over here. It is a competitor to Akash or Render and has to do with GPUs. I'm not the most AI technical person, but they do have a very good team. They've been building it for around 3 years with 11 team members, I believe. So the team, from my understanding, is extremely good. They are pretty much just literally out of Cognito. They have basically no followers, which honestly makes me even more bullish because they haven't put much money into marketing and they're just focusing on the actual product. So I am holding this for a long-term position here. It's obviously at 50% in the last 24 hours, which is pretty fucking insane, which again just shows me relative strength that there are people bidding. I do still have a position open in Keta. A lot of people I know made a fuckload of money bidding it down at the 0.45, 0.5 range with like 200 ETH, which is 400K, which is insane. I don't use that much size, so unfortunately I did not take that trade. But, if you do have 400K that you are not using, that would have been a great trade to go and bid. But yeah, that just shows like extreme relative strength. We did go and bid Appster. Now, obviously, this is at 50% in the last day, which is pretty insane, and printed a fucking crazy god candle. The thesis here is very similar. It's the biggest meme on Abstract Chain. Abstract Chain is an L2 built by the team that built Pudgy Penguins, which was a multi-billion-dollar coin. They're building an L2 on top of Ethereum. I think this is going to go to multi-billion dollars in market cap. I think they're going to airdrop $100 million plus to the community of people, and then this is going to be the largest meme on a new chain. So Sui had Lofi, ETH has Shib or Pepe, Sol had Whiff, a whole bunch of other ones too. But I think Appster will be the face of Abstract Chain. I think it's going to do absolutely insane. I think there also might be other memes that are going to do pretty good on this chain, which is going to be Newt as well. But I think Appster is going to be the clear winner, and I think this is a $100 million meme. It's literally already gone to, I want to say, like, they're almost touching like $25 million from literally nothing. And when you add like hundreds or $100 million of on-chain liquidity, I think it's going to go absolutely insane. So this is why I'm going to bid it here, and actually why we did bid it right around here at this like $10 to $11 million market cap. So I think it's going to do extremely well as Newt as well. These are most of the positions I have open. I am trenching a bit on AVAX still. I did have a position open in FOMO. I did close most of that on this like massive green candle. That is because they are going to do staking. So basically, if you staked 30% or all of your tokens, you would get 30% of the supply of FOMO. So there's going to be mass dilution. I didn't end up staking my tokens, so that means that I wanted to kind of get out of the coin before the mass dilution happens. But a lot of coins on AVAX are doing extremely well, and that is just because there's less runners every single day. It's much more cabal. Once a coin is kind of chosen, it pretty much goes crazy. Like you can see Wife changing money. It was down at like 2 mil. That's literally up 100% in a day. FOMO at one point was up like 200% in a day. Lambo was kind of the biggest one on AVAX, and then there was also Meow, which is the same dev as Wilder World, I believe, who launched it, and that did like $2 billion a couple of years ago. So I'm really, really, really bullish on AVAX here, and I think it's going to do honestly absolutely unreal. So I'm spending a lot of time trying to find new launches here, but I did get like a nice 7 or 8K win on FOMO, and I think it's going to do probably decently well, but I didn't stake any tokens, so I wanted to end my position there. One other potential position I am seeing open is potentially a position here on Zeus. I think if this drops any lower to like the $2 million market cap range, I think there's a good chance that it can go for some bids. I don't think the coin's just going to die. I think there's a pretty good probability there would at least be like an exit pump or something, where it might do like something like this or something like this. And it's not very hard to pump a coin once it's at like a $2 million market cap. So maybe it goes like to 10, and then you can grab like maybe like a 5x or like a 4x and then exit. So that's what I'm looking at currently on the market. But I do think there's a lot of plays coming up, and a whole bunch of plays have done extremely well and have pumped extremely hard. So that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and we will get into more trenching videos in the next one. But these are just some of the long-term plays that I have open right now that I have no intention of closing. So if you felt this was valuable, please drop me a comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And if you do want to get into trades exactly when I'm taking them, then you can come and join the Discord. We have had a number of calls here. You can see people are up. There's a bunch of wins. I just posted some P&L results over here as well. So you can see that this guy made $340. I made $7,000 on FOMO. There's a whole bunch of wins in here of just people trading. I don't care to scroll this whole time, but you guys can come and check it out with the link down below if you're interested. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Cheers. Appreciate your time.